Have you ever noticed how certain moments in life feel too precise to be accidents? The phone rings, and it's the exact person you were just thinking about. You glance at the clock and see the same numbers repeating again and again. A dream leaves you with such clarity that it lingers long after you've opened your eyes. Are these things just coincidences, or are they signs? What if those repeating patterns were not random at all, but the universe's way of testing whether you're paying attention? What if every small synchronicity was a thread pulling you towards something larger? These are not ordinary moments. They are the hidden signals that you've reached a threshold, what some call the final sign. The ancients believed that reality itself responds to the observer, that your focus, your awareness, carries the power to shape what unfolds. This is the heart of the Hermetic tradition, and it's the secret Thoth, passed down through ages, the observer effect. And here's the promise: when you understand it, when you step into it, your reality will not just shift slightly, it will collapse and reassemble into something entirely new. Tonight, we open that door. This is not theory or distant philosophy. It's the code beneath your daily life, waiting for you to notice. And once you do, nothing will look the same again. Most people drift through life as if they were passengers on a ship they never chose to board. They wake up each day, reacting to circumstances, tossed between moments of luck and waves of misfortune, never realizing they've surrendered the wheel of their own existence. This is the 99%, the unconscious observers, those who see reality as something happening to them, rather than something unfolding through them. But there is another group, a smaller one, almost hidden. Perhaps it's the group you've started to sense you belong to. These are the conscious observers, the 1% who are beginning to notice that reality isn't a solid, unchanging stage. It's more like an ocean, vast, fluid, filled with infinite possibilities. Most people float on the surface, carried by the tides of fear and desire coming from society. Yet a conscious observer begins to discover that their attention is like a hand reaching into that ocean, shaping which wave becomes real, which possibility collapses into form. This isn't just motivational talk. It is the essence of an ancient principle, the Hermetic law of mentalism, which declares, all is mind. The universe itself is not merely out there, separate from you. It is mental, a projection, a vast field responding to thought, to perception, to belief. And once you glimpse this, even for a moment, something changes. You stop feeling like a spectator and start realizing you hold the projector in your own hands. The truth is, this divide isn't about education, wealth, or status. It's about awareness. On one side, people live out scripts they never wrote, clinging to fears and beliefs handed down by family, culture, or media. On the other side, those who awaken begin to step into authorship. They choose their story, their characters, even the very timeline they wish to live. If you've felt synchronicities pressing into your days, if you've noticed the quiet nudge that life can bend in response to your focus, that's the invitation. It's the signal that you're no longer drifting with the 99%. But here's the caution. Awareness is only the beginning. If ignored, the gravity of collective unconsciousness will pull you back into its tide. To remain among the 1%, you must claim your place as a conscious observer, someone who sees clearly that reality bends to the shape of the mind and the power of perception. Would you like me to keep expanding this section until it naturally reaches the target length of about 5,000 characters, weaving in more imagery, examples, and subtle calls to belonging, so it flows like a complete storytelling arc for your script? Life has a way of whispering before it ever shouts. For those who are beginning to awaken, these whispers show up as what many call micromanifestations, small, almost playful signals from the universe designed to test your attention. They are not the grand miracles you might imagine, but subtle nudges that say, are you watching closely? Think back to a time you were thinking of a friend you hadn't spoken to in years, and within minutes, your phone lit up with their name. Or maybe you were searching for an answer to a question that weighed on your mind, and a random book you picked up fell open to the exact words you needed. These are not coincidences in the ordinary sense. They are daily tests, the universe's way of measuring how attuned you've become to its language. The difference between a true synchronicity and random chance lies in three things: repetition, emotion, and timing. Random events pass unnoticed. Micromanifestations repeat themselves. sometimes in quick succession, until you can't brush them off. They arrive charged with emotion, a sense of wonder, chills, or the deep knowing that this moment means more than it appears. And they always come at the right time, just when you were asking a question, even silently, in your own heart. Once you learn to spot them, the question becomes, how do you work with them? The answer is simple. Write them down, keep a small journal, or even use the Notes app on your phone. Record the moment it happens, how it made you feel, and what was on your mind at the time. Over days and weeks, you'll notice patterns. The universe speaks in echoes, and those echoes grow louder the more you acknowledge them. This is why I invite you to pause and share your own experience. What micro-manifestations have you noticed? Was it a number repeating on a clock? A song that answered your question? A stranger who spoke the very words you were silently holding inside? By sharing, you not only validate your own awakening, but you also help others recognize the same signs in their own lives. That is how the whispers turn into a chorus when the observers begin to speak. Do you want me to keep developing this section toward a full to 5? 5, 0, 0, character flow, weaving in more real-life vignettes, metaphors, and gentle calls to action, so it has the same narrative depth and pacing as the competitor's video. Every true transformation begins in darkness. The ancient alchemists called it nigredo, the black stage, the burning away of all that is impure. To them, it was never just about turning lead into gold in a physical furnace. It was about the soul itself, tested in fire, stripped down to its raw material. And if you've ever walked through seasons of heartbreak, failure, or despair, then you've already lived through your own nigredo. In those moments, it may have felt like punishment. Doors closed, relationships collapsed, dreams you clung to dissolved in your hands. But what if it wasn't rejection at all? What if it was preparation? Alchemy teaches us that lead must first break down before it can be transformed. Your pain was not evidence that life abandoned you. It was proof that something greater was forming in the shadows. The shift comes with albedo, the whitening, the stage of purification. This is when clarity breaks through the ashes, when gratitude begins to shine. Where bitterness once lived, every negative thought, when fed with fear, coagulates into more negativity, more struggle, more weight. But when you hold the same thought in the light of faith, when you choose gratitude, even in the small things, the very same energy begins to coagulate into opportunities, healing, and unexpected blessings. This is not just philosophy, it's practical alchemy. Each day, every one of us unconsciously turns thoughts into matter, emotions into experience. The question is not whether you are practicing alchemy, it's whether you are doing it consciously or blindly. Do you allow resentment to multiply in your life? Or do you dissolve it and replace it with gratitude so that a new reality can emerge? Mystics across traditions have spoken of this same process. In Christianity, it is the dark night of the soul, when the seeker feels abandoned, only to discover that the silence itself was the preparation for hearing a deeper voice. In alchemy, the nigredo was never the end. It was the necessary crucible. Only through it can the albedo dawn the light of renewal. The promise that what was broken is not wasted, but reborn. If you are listening now, perhaps you're standing at that very threshold. Perhaps your own darkness has already carried within it the seed of light. Remember this: the furnace did not destroy you, it revealed you. And in that revelation lies the power to transmute every wound into wisdom, every scar into strength, every shadow into gold. Picture your mind as a projector. Your attention is the lens, it directs the image toward the screen of reality. But without light, a lens is powerless. Emotion is that light. It is the bulb burning behind the glass, determining whether your projection is dim and blurry or brilliant and undeniable. This is why two people can hold the same thought and yet manifest entirely different outcomes. A fleeting idea with no emotion is like a spark in the wind, it dies before it takes shape. But when a thought is charged with intense feeling, it becomes a command, a vibration that the universe cannot ignore. Gratitude, love, joy. These emotions lift your frequency and pull experiences of the same quality into your orbit. Fear, doubt, anger. Those, too, collapse reality. But they draw toward you the very circumstances you hoped to avoid. You've probably felt this play out already. Maybe you spent days obsessing over a problem, pouring anxiety into every detail, and suddenly, the situation seemed to spiral even further out of control. That was alchemy in motion, your fear becoming the architect of your reality. And yet, you've also had moments when you let go of worry, when you felt grateful for what little you had, and suddenly doors opened in ways you couldn't explain. That was emotion transmuted into opportunity. This is the overlooked truth of manifestation. You don't manifest what you think, you manifest what you feel. The mind writes the script, but the heart is what funds the production. Without emotional energy, a thought is just a draft. With emotion, it becomes a living scene that the universe begins to cast and stage. So here is the invitation. Before you chase after another affirmation, pause. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling as I say this? If it's desperation, the universe hears lack. If it's gratitude, the universe hears abundance. The work is not to repeat words until you're blue in the face. The work is to choose a feeling, nurture it, expand it, until it vibrates so clearly that reality has no choice but to echo it back. That is why emotion is not a side effect of manifestation. It is the engine, and the moment you master that truth, you stop throwing pebbles into the lake and start sending waves across the field of possibility. Every person who has ever walked the path of awakening has, at some point, stumbled through a valley of shadows. It is the season when nothing seems to move forward, when relationships end, when jobs slip away, when the phone goes silent, and you feel forgotten by the world. Most call it bad luck or punishment, but ancient wisdom has another name for it: a quantum quarantine. Think of it not as abandonment, but as protection. When the universe wants to build your inner strength, it pulls you out of the noise of the collective, the fears of the crowd, the constant static of opinions, the heavy emotions of people around you. All of it can contaminate the delicate process of your transformation. And so, life isolates you. The quarantine is not meant to break you, but to shield you, while you learn how to stand on your own frequency. The alchemists knew this well. They spoke of the anor, the furnace where raw material is burned, so that the dross falls away, and only the essence remains. Your moments of pain, of loss, of aching solitude, those were your furnace. They felt like endings, but in truth, they were purifications. Every scar you carry is not a mark of failure, but a medal of training, proof that you have endured the fire and begun to emerge, purified. And if you've ever wondered why it had to hurt so much, remember this: pain forces you inward. It strips away the distractions, the illusions, the false selves you clung to. It compels you to discover the light that cannot be taken from you, the one within. This is why so many mystics, across cultures, have described the dark night of the soul. What feels like the silence of God is actually the clearing of space, so that a new voice can be heard. Perhaps you can see this now in your own story. The breakup that shattered you also taught you not to collapse your worth into another person. The job you lost forced you to uncover talents you never knew you had. The season of loneliness showed you that your company with yourself could be enough. Every no was the universe creating a vacuum, preparing room for a greater yes. That season was your nigredo, the black stage, the winter of the soul. But winters do not last forever. The very fact that you are listening now is proof that you have crossed into albedo, the whitening, the dawn. The fire did not destroy you, it refined you, and the strength you carry today is not despite the pain but because of it. If your wounds could speak, they would not say, "You failed." They would say, "You trained." They would say, "You are ready." There's a strange truth hidden in plain sight, one that frustrates almost everyone who first experiments with manifestation. The harder you try, the further it seems to slip away. You repeat affirmations. You push with all your mental energy. You strain to force a new outcome into existence, and instead of arriving, it drifts like smoke through your fingers. This is the effort paradox. At first, it feels cruel. We've been taught since childhood that effort is the currency of achievement. Work harder, push longer, and the world will reward you. And in many ways, that's true in the material realm. But when it comes to shaping reality through the observer effect, effort becomes resistance. The very energy of straining carries a hidden message: I don't have this yet. Every desperate push is a broadcast of lack, and the universe, precise and impartial, mirrors that vibration right back. The ancient texts whisper a different way. Thoth's teaching was clear: Law is the cause. The universe runs on principles, mentalism, correspondence, vibration, that function, whether you believe in them or not. Your role is not to bend the law to your will. Your role is to align with it, to let it carry you. As a river carries a boat, the power isn't in fighting the current, but in tuning your sail to the direction of the wind. This is where Eastern wisdom meets Hermetic truth. In Taoism, it is called Wu Wei, effortless action, not laziness, not passivity, but moving with the grain of the universe rather than against it. It's like water flowing around a rock, persistent, unstoppable, yet never straining. You don't yell at the river to change course. You step into it and let it take you where it already flows. Think of it this way. Imagine standing before a locked door. You could throw your shoulder against it, bruising yourself with every attempt, growing frustrated as it refuses to budge. Or you could reach into your pocket and find the key that was there all along. Alignment is that key. It's the quiet realization that the door was never meant to be forced. This doesn't mean doing nothing. It means acting from a different state, from trust, from clarity, from the inner, knowing that what you desire already exists as a timeline waiting for you to tune in. When you adjust your frequency to match that reality, the external aligns without the need for strain. So the question is not, how hard can I push? The real question is, can I let go enough to align? Because the paradox of effort is that resistance breeds more resistance, while alignment creates flow. And once you taste that flow, you'll wonder why you ever tried to force the river in the first place. Most of us are raised to believe that we build our lives brick by brick, like a house constructed from scratch. Work hard, make plans, hope for luck, and maybe the future will reward you. But the deeper truth, one that both modern physics and ancient mysticism echo, is far more astonishing. You are not creating reality out of nothing. You are selecting it from a field where every possible reality already exists. Imagine a library so vast that it holds every book that could ever be written. There is a book where you live, the life you've always dreamed of, one where you never left that relationship, another where you took that job, and even others where you made choices you can't yet imagine. The shelves are endless, and every volume is already complete. You don't need to write a new story. You only need to choose which book you will read. And by focusing on it, you begin to live inside its pages. The Hermeticists hinted at this with the law of vibration. Each reality carries a unique frequency, like channels on a radio. You don't create the channel by twisting the dial. It was already there. You simply align your receiver until the signal becomes clear. The same is true of your life. Your thoughts and emotions tune you into one version of reality over another. Worry tunes you into timelines filled with obstacles. Gratitude tunes you into timelines where opportunities surface at just the right moment. You are the scribe, the one holding the pen. Each thought, each emotion, is a stroke on the page that confirms which timeline you are inhabiting. This is why manifestation is less about invention and more about revelation. You're not forcing the universe to give you something new. You're peeling back the veil to reveal what has been waiting all along. The alchemists spoke of the philosopher's stone, the mythical substance that could turn lead into gold. The secret was never about creating gold where none existed. It was about revealing the gold already hidden within. In the same way, the timeline you desire doesn't need to be manufactured. It needs to be uncovered. Here's a practice you can try. Tonight, write a page in your journal as if you were already living the life you want. Write it in the past tense, as though it has already happened. I woke up today in my new home. I walked outside and felt peace wash over me. I looked around and realized I made it. By writing from within the timeline, you begin to attune your emotions to its frequency, and that alignment draws the pages of that book closer into your lived experience. So remember, you are not here to force reality into shape. You are here to choose, and in that choice lies the miracle, that creation is not invention, but revelation. What if the wisest guide you could ever meet wasn't a guru on a stage, or an author on a shelf, but your own future self, the version of you who has already crossed the storms you're still navigating? In the Hermetic tradition, this is not fantasy, but principle. The self that has become already exists, sending quiet signals back to the present you, nudging you toward alignment. These signals rarely arrive with trumpets. They come softly, through dreams that feel too vivid to dismiss. through symbols that repeat until you can't ignore them, through synchronicities that line up so perfectly, you sense there's no way it was random. One night you dream of walking through a door, and days later, a real opportunity arrives that feels just like that dream. A phrase you keep hearing, from strangers or songs or signs on the road, becomes a breadcrumb trail. These are whispers from the future you, communicating across the veil of time. Ancient philosophy described this dynamic through the principle of gender, not gender in the human sense, but as archetypes of creation. The present self is the womb, the receptive field, the fertile soil. The higher self is the seed, the impulse, the blueprint already carrying the image of what's to come. Together they form the union that births a new reality. Alone, the present self can feel empty. Alone, the higher self cannot take root. But when you open to their communication, something entirely new emerges. Your chosen timeline takes shape. One way to practice this is beautifully simple. Write a letter from your future self. Begin with, "Here's how it unfolded," and describe your life as if it has already happened. Write about the home you live in the relationships you cherish, the peace you feel, then read it daily. Not with the desperation of someone begging, but with the calm recognition of someone remembering. With time, your body begins to believe, and when your body believes, the field responds. The truth is, you have never been alone on this path. Every step of uncertainty, every question of, "Am I lost?" Your future self was already holding the map. The synchronicities were breadcrumbs, the dreams were landmarks, the symbols were mile markers, and each time you chose to trust one, you were answering your own call across time. So when doubt comes, remember, the version of you who has already healed, who has already created, who has already arrived, is whispering back. Listen closely, and you will hear, you are guided, you are safe, you are never alone. Every tradition, from the temples of Kabbalah to the chants of mantra yoga, has carried a secret. Words, spoken with intention, shape the fabric of reality. They are not empty sounds, not marks on a page. They are vibrations codes that write themselves into the field of possibility. And you, right now, hold that same power. That is why I ask you to do something that may feel simple but is anything but ordinary. Declare it, write it, speak it. I unlock the observer. This is not a trick for algorithms, not just another line in a comment section. This is your ritual of declaration, your moment of turning thought into vibration, and vibration into form. The act of typing the words, of seeing them appear before you, is the act of sealing an agreement with yourself and with the universe. Think of it as striking a match in a dark room. The flame may be small, but its light transforms the space instantly. One declaration, one clear intention, has the same effect. The ancients believed that sound was the first act of creation. Let there be light. In your own life, this declaration becomes the spark that begins to collapse the reality of confusion into the reality of clarity. So I invite you now, make this your vow, your mantra, comment it, whisper it, write it in your journal, not passively, not half-heartedly, but with the full authority of someone ready to step into their power. And when you do, you will feel it, that subtle shift, that certainty that the observer has awakened within you. And don't keep it to yourself. Share your story. Tell others what shifted for you, what synchronicities you noticed, what weight began to lift. When one person declares, the vibration ripples outward. When many declare together, it becomes a wave that reshapes the collective field. This is not performance, it is participation, it is alignment in action, and it begins, simply, with 4 words that carry the weight of an entire new reality. I unlock the observer. You've walked with me through every stage of this journey, from the small synchronicities that first whispered for your attention, to the alchemy of thought that turned your darkest nights into seeds of light, to the paradox of surrender that revealed how alignment, not effort, is what truly collapses reality. You've seen how your future self has been guiding you all along, leaving signs in dreams and symbols, calling you toward the timeline where you already stand in your power. The key is yours now. It was never hidden in some distant temple or locked behind a gate guarded by mystery. It has always been within you, waiting for the moment you stopped forcing and started aligning. Alignment is the law, and when you honor that law, Life no longer feels like a struggle against the current. It becomes a river, carrying you exactly where you are meant to go. So take this with you. Sometimes one shift, one realization, one video is enough to collapse the reality you thought you were trapped in and reveal the one you were born to choose. And if this spoke to you, let this be only the beginning. In the next video, we'll go even deeper into the practices, the symbols, the truths that can sharpen your focus and expand your awareness even further. Until then, remember, you are the observer, you are the scribe, and you are never alone on this path. Live the key, align with the law, and watch how reality bends in response.